7 p.m. I'd like to call to order and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. We all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. So do we have, we don't need for alternates. What do we have? Do we need any alternates? Are we seating any? I don't think we need to. We're all fours. Yeah, we should be all, yeah, we're, let me see, here was my notepad. Let me bring my notepad, shit. Never mind. All right, so for public hearing, application 22-334-Z, Marvin Orlena, is that Orlena? Anybody?
Close enough.
Okay. Applicant applying for a variance to the zoning regulations under Schedule B, Line 8, relating to minimum setback from property line to permit a 36 by 15 pavilion structure and retaining wall at 346 Jeremy Swamp Road, 41-43-11. It's a zone R60. Do we have anybody here as the applicant or anybody representing the applicant here? Let the record note that there's nobody here for the applicant or representing the applicant. At this point, I guess we can.
Well, I would see.
We have the adjoining property owner.
Right, oh yeah, we have to go through, yes. Good evening, Mr. Pillacy.
Good evening, how are you?
Good, I'm doing well, thank you.
Great.
Please just state your name.
My name is Franklin Pillacy, 235 Main Street, Watertown, Connecticut. And I'm a land use lawyer. I represent the adjoining property owner, Jason Edwards. I submitted a written statement in opposition to this variance that was delivered to the zoning office on December 1st. Does everyone have that?
That was the one that you.
That would be great, Attorney Pillacy, thank you.
I have a copy.
Yeah, that copy should have been in your packet, but feel free to.
Can I submit a copy of this to be included in the minutes of the meeting? Again, my name is Franklin Pillacy, and I am here representing Mr. Jason Edwards, and he is in opposition to this variance. As you know, the legal requirement to qualify a property for a variance is quite stringent and difficult, and it's the position of Mr. Edwards that that standard cannot be met on the record of this application. Now, the nature and description of the application is as stated in the application itself. It's seeking relief from a setback standard, and it clearly states on the application itself that these improvements that encroach into the setback and indeed encroach over the property line onto Mr. Edwards' property were constructed within the last couple of months, presumably without any homework and presumably without any permits. So there's two parts to the legal argument in opposition to the variance. And the first is that it is very difficult in any instance to qualify for a variance. A variance may only be granted under Connecticut law when the application of the regulations to the property would destroy the value of the property for all reasonable uses, as the personal preference of the applicant were irrelevant to the hardship determination, and disappointment in the use of property did not constitute a legal hardship. And that quote comes from a recent appellate court decision in 2015. And it goes on to state that our Supreme Court has explained a variance constitutes authority extended to the owner to use his property in a manner forbidden by the zoning enactment. It is well established that the granting a variance must be reserved for unusual or exceptional circumstances, An applicant for a variance must show that, because of some peculiar characteristic of his property, the strict application of the zoning regulation produces an unusual hardship as opposed to the general impact which the regulation has on other properties in the same zone. Additionally, we have interpreted Section 8-6 to authorize a variance, again, and the statutory requirements are reprinted there. And then there's another case cited at the top of the following page, page 3, that basically states the same thing. When we look at the Varillo case again, in that case, the Superior Court rejected the applicant's claim of practical confiscation, noting that the 2010 assessor's card, which is part of the administrative record, indicates that the property's assessed value at the time of the public hearing was $221,000. Equally significant, the applicant presented no evidence that a denial of the requested variances would preclude any reasonable use of the property. Instead, they argued that their proposed expansion of the existing non-conforming structure would be a more reasonable use of the property. In so doing, they failed to appreciate that the applicable legal standards, as it was incumbent upon them to offer proof that denial of the variance would practically destroy the value of the property for all reasonable uses. In the case that I'm citing from, factually, what happened is there was a non-conforming lot with a substantial dwelling on it, but nevertheless, the owner wanted to improve the dwelling and make it slightly bigger. And that variance was turned back by the Connecticut Appellate Court in 2015. And 9 months later, the Connecticut Supreme Court, in a case called E&F Associates LLC versus Zoning Board of Appeals, reiterated the same exacting standard, that essentially you're not supposed to qualify for a variance unless you have no reasonable use of the property or there's some unusual or unique feature about your property that where the zoning regulations impact on that property differently from somebody else's property. An example may be if you have a property that doesn't meet the zoning regulations because a municipality or the state of Connecticut condemned a portion of that property. In those situations, it's something that happened to your property beyond the control of yourself, which makes it impossible for maybe that you can meet a setback that otherwise you could have met had not some condemning authority taken part of your property. So those are some of the unique characteristics of an application that may, in fact, qualify for a variance. It is sometimes a situation where you can qualify for a variance if you have a non-conforming use and the variance is going to make the property still not non-conforming, but less non-conforming than you had to begin with. So sometimes that can be an exception where a variance can be approved, but certainly not on in a case like this. The second and maybe the more compelling part of the objection in this case is based on the fact that these improvements, so to speak, that encroach into the setback are self-created. In other words, they were built by this owner. This owner built these setbacks in violation of the regulations, and there are a number of court decisions that are cited in the objection that we filed that tell us that a self-created hardship can never, ever qualify a property for hardship under any circumstances. And a self-created hardship in its most simplest sense is exactly what happened here. Someone went out and built an encroachment into the setback either without doing enough homework to find out that he was in the setback, in which case he would be said to be reckless and just proceeding, but probably never applied for any permits, never consulted with a surveyor, or found out exactly where his property is located. So again, any hardship is self-created, and self-created hardship is never proper grounds for a variance. When the voluntary act of an applicant has created the claimed hardship, a zoning board of appeals lacks the power to grant a variance. And a self-created hardship, again, can be something that this owner did or something that a prior owner did as well with the property. So again, there's examples of self-created hardship based upon actual Connecticut court cases that I cited in the statement in opposition, along with the assessor's card to show that there is a more than reasonable use of this property that already exists, which is exactly the situation in the Varillo case that we cited. So again, we would urge you to deny this variance. I don't think there's any question that there's no legal hardship has been presented to you. Thank you. Any questions?
On this map that you submitted, how was this map obtained?
This map was given to us by our client. And this map, it's hard for me to make out, but if you turn, you can see the boundary line, and you can see some of the encroachment of the retaining wall and a fence that's built over the property line onto my client's property.
My question is that as far as the authenticity though, just as far as how this was
Well, it looks,
drawn and where was it obtained from? Was it the GIS? Was it?
it was obtained by Edwards and Associates. Our client happens to be an engineer and surveyor.
Oh, okay, beautiful. Okay.
And
Okay,
he,
I mean, you can actually see too that he's also encroached into the wetlands.
that's a separate matter that I believe is being dealt with ongoing by the Wetlands Agency.
Okay.
That is correct.
But our client is an engineer surveyor by trade. He's appeared before zoning agencies and wetlands agencies throughout western Connecticut.
That's how it was obtained.
Okay.
And then it is not a certified
Right,
survey
that's what I wanted.
because it's not embossed.
For as far as the judgment of what we're
As
looking
far
at.
as you can take it is just as a visual
Right,
representation,
exactly.
because it is not a certified
actual,
survey.
right.
Yep.
But I mean, it's enough to be, you know,
Right.
within.
And then the property was surveyed after the fact, professionally by the applicant.
Were there permits pulled for any of these structures that were built?
No,
And so the property was obtained in what year?
The subject property that is seeking a variance was acquired by the present owner by a deed that was recorded on June 30th of this year,
Property was purchased this year,
in June.
and then all of this stuff started just
Right after.
building on top of it with no, I understand.
In the presentation that we submitted, it states the date of the deed and the date of recording of the deed and the volume of page and pages of recording. It's on the first page of our statement in opposition. Again, you can see on the map that we presented that although it may not be certified, it is prepared by Mr. Edwards, and you can see on the bottom left that he is an engineer and surveyor by trade. And he's quite active. He appears quite a lot in western Connecticut.
beyond his information provided on the map, several site visits have been conducted. As I was stating, there was a survey done on the property. There are stakes currently out there. If you have the 2 previous reports that were filed in the packets, there are visual representations in the form of photos in the back of those reports depicting the 2 property stakes. You can see clearly, just as it's stated on the map there, that the retaining wall going along the driveway does cross over the property boundary and encroach on Mr. Edwards' property. Additionally, you can get a sense of the close proximity to that property boundary that the pavilion structure was built on. Again, visually confirming what is being stated on the map as it does cross the 30-foot setback.
Does the pavilion here, is there toilet in here? Is there,
It's just an open-air
what's it
pavilion.
for?
Just an open-air pavilion.
It's pretty,
Relevant in the case, we're just looking at as far as with the structure and where it sits. That's all it is.
okay.
Anybody have any more questions for Attorney Pilsey? If you do, please raise your hand. We'll get to as far as if the public is.
Yeah, no, it's a public hearing.
thank you. I'll remain in case there's any more questions. Thank you.
Yes, actually, would the applicant like to make any comments?
Martin, would you like to make any comments?
Can I?
Yeah,
You could absolutely.
yeah.
Can I do it from here or you want?
No, you gotta come up here, state your name, your address.
So Martin, just state your name and address and then you can give your statement.
God bless everyone. My name is Marvin Orellana, and I live 346 Jeremy Swan. To be honest with you, I don't know what I'm doing here. I just follow what Jordan is telling me to do. I get here like a month ago, more than that, because I bought my first property and I decided to change it, make it beautiful. And I did a lot of things that I think for other people are not good, or for the town of Southbury is not good. So I started doing, like process, I get a permit and all stuff like that. And, I'm here because he tell me to come here, but believe me, I don't know nothing. I don't know, he's the owner? No. Okay. Whatever you guys decide. I think that I don't have more time to be here with you guys. It's not personally, Jordan knows most about it. But I want to live these days for me and my family peaceful. What I did is not against to nobody. In few years, I am not going to be here, and I just gonna let my family live for the moment, like secure. The purpose of the retaining wall is because when there is a rain, all the water come from uphill. I don't know if you guys understanding me. Sorry, my English is not that much good, but there's a lot of water getting into the driveway and convert the driveway into a river. So that's why this, it was a retaining wall before. What I did, I just built it a little bit high. I'm a handyman, and I did it by myself with my guys and my family. So whatever you guys to decide, if you want to decide to find me, fine. If you want to decide me to move it, fine. I don't want to get enemies. I'm in this war just to make friends and share love. That's all. That's it.
Anybody in the public want to speak in favor? Anybody in the public want to speak in opposition? Let the record show that.
Okay, I don't want to speak in either way, I just have a question about the surveying process. I don't know if it's like anything that anyone can answer, I'm just curious, so.
Just state your name and,
All right, my name is James Cameron Denegris. I own the abutting property at 167 Oak Hill Drive in Southbury, obviously. I was just listening to what the attorney was talking about as far as the surveying of the land. And the only thing that popped into my mind was that the owner of the, I guess the adjacent property that is petitioning is contesting, is a land surveyor engineer who was the one that provided all of the, I guess, technical information to prove that what was done was, I guess, at least over the property line. I'm just wondering, is that not a conflict of interest that he is allowed to survey his own land and determine that something belongs to him or doesn't belong to him? I had no doubt, I mean, obviously I don't know him personally or anything about the trade whatsoever. I'm just curious if there's any sort of standard for who is allowed to survey their own property and say, this is what is legally mine and, not yours. I just, like, I could be a tax attorney. I don't think I can assess the value of my property and say that it's worth half of what it is so I can pay less money to the town. Just a comment. as far as if there's any precedent for, it seems to be a very interesting situation. The guy challenging the structure happens to be somebody that's who can say that, yes, this is on my property. And it seems like there's kind of like two issues going on. One is like, are the structures allowed at all? Another issue being, is it over the property line, or is it encroach on some sort of like barrier where you're not supposed to build a structure between the two properties? And then I heard something about wetlands. Seems to be like a handful of different issues going on. And I wonder if, what is gonna be like decided for what's being violated and what's the outcome of that? Like, if it's over the property line, can he get the variance and is just required to move it? Or if it's denied, does it get removed entirely? Does the retaining wall come down? Those are my only questions, like, what is the consequences, if any of those things are looked at differently? So, thank you.
I think that'd be for you to answer.
Yeah, to begin with your questions, the survey provided by Mr. Edwards, he is a licensed surveyor, but the survey is not stamped to be a licensed survey. It was conducted utilizing a drone. So it is purely a visual representation provided by Mr. Edwards to just kind of give an assessment of what is believed to be going on. Beyond that, the owner of 346, Marvin, had the lot line surveyed. So, like I stated previously, in my site visit reports, there are photos that include both the survey stakes, and if you drive past the site, you'll see them. There are survey stakes that are out there. One is right on the corner of the property. If you're looking at the property on the left side of the driveway, and then the other is right in front of the fence that he has back there, where his pavilion structure is currently. Drawing a clear line visually, you can see that the retaining wall dips across. There are no questions about the property lines.
Yeah, but
Beyond,
also the applicant has the ability at this meeting to form any rebuttal to what the adjoining property owner has. If he fails to bring anything to preside, to argue any points, you know, we only can take what's given to us.
and what's gathered in the field. He has since tried to move the retaining wall structure, but he's under wetlands review right now and doesn't have an application to be conducting that work either. So there are a number of things going on here that all need to be addressed. But that's where we're at right now.
Any members have any questions for?
Use your mic,
Rosa.
Carl.
I just have a question, if the applicant has a copy of the map of, what resulted from his survey for us to share with us.
Marvin, when you had your property surveyed and they put the stakes in the ground to show you where your property line was, you never submitted a map of that survey, but do you have that map?
I believe I have it.
Okay.
Do you recall if you are encroaching on the neighbor's property and encroaching on the setback based on the survey?
I didn't get that. Can you repeat it?
Okay, Marvin, if you could come up here real quick.
Do you recall when seeing the results of your survey, if the work you did was encroaching on your neighbor's property and was within the 30-foot setback?
When you say if I record, I don't understand.
So when you had your property surveyed, they provided you with the information that showed you, one, where your retaining wall crossed over the property, and two, that you were very close to the property line with the pavilion structure. You do recall getting this information from your surveyor, correct?
I don't understand. What
Show 'em a map.
record means?
You must have received a map.
Yes, I did it.
Okay.
I got it.
Do you realize that when looking at the map and your surveyors had in turn showed you the stakes, do you realize that the wall you built goes onto the
Oh, yeah.
neighbor's so you understand that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, do
And
you,
I have one member of my family that he is a lawyer and he's trying to get involved. Unfortunately, he cannot be during
Okay.
the meeting. He tried to talk, I think, with his lawyer to try to, if he wants some money, but the money they want is like high, I can afford it, just to let me have that retaining wall. So I decided, to not bother him, move the retaining wall back.
Yes, and he was issued a cease and desist upon
right, because he's in the wetlands.
doing that work, being notified that he cannot conduct additional work while being under wetlands review and not having a permit, for which he stated that he didn't care and he could take the fines, this being Marvin, and that the work would continue regardless of the cease and desist.
Another question. Did you do this work yourself, or did you hire a licensed contractor?
No, I'm a handyman, I do a lot of things, and friends and family, wife and me, we did it.
Are you a contractor? Are you, no?
I'm a
Okay.
handyman.
So it was just done by you as the homeowner?
Yes.
Okay.
Since I bought it, I started to, clean the whole property.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You have any, you wanna,
No?
we're not asking for a vote right now. We're
Okay, no,
Yeah, who's in favor of closing? You?
yes.
Yes, close.
Carl? Yes. I'm in favor of closing the meeting. Meeting is now here closed. Can open for discussion on it, or are we moving to the next one? Anybody have anything on the board that would like to discuss this application 22-334-Z? Carl?
I agree. I wouldn't use as many words as Attorney Pillacy, but I agree that there was no hardship, demonstrated by the applicant in this case.
Yeah, the hardship was created by the homeowner. So in that case, no.
All right, I guess we're all set for discussion. Want to vote? Kathy?
I'm denying for no notice of hardship.
David?
State, same thing? No.
John?
I think I just, unfortunately, no.
So you're denying?
I'm denying.
Denying. Carl?
No as well, based on the lack of demonstration of hardship.
I'm in vote for no for lack in demonstrating also as far as any hardships. Application is denied. Okay, all right, I wasn't sure what you were trying to convey there, that's all. Oh, I didn't read it, but that's. You know,
We're good to go, right?
yeah, and just so you know, there's nothing that the town of Southbury is against you for. It's just that when everybody lives in a community, we all have to oblige by rules and regulations. So please don't take this as a personal attack on you, because I know there's a couple times that you had mentioned as far as, they're angry or some type of animosity of some sort, and it's not. It's just that we all have to, work together, and before you do something, even though you do own the property, you still have to get permission to do things.
Now I know.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, and I'm sure this was not an inexpensive thing for you to do. But, just don't think that the town of Southbury is like,
No, that's fine, whatever you want, I mean, don't take it personal, do one more thing, everybody of the city welcome to come, but let me know, or my wife is pregnant again, and she's worried. She's not like me, I mean, we having, this week visiting by,
after this, there will be nobody
they knock
visiting.
the door, and she's shaking, so
Yeah,
I'm afraid she lost her baby.
yeah, you put it this way,
Somebody come, let me know, I wanna, be outside, let you guys come inside.
well, there won't be any town officials coming, so,
Well, then I wouldn't speak for,
well, there's nothing for us.
not for us.
Oh, correct, I'm sorry, I apologize, yes. Mr. Rosenby, correct, yes.
Marvin, if I have to come and visit for any reason, I'm just gonna stand on the road and take those pictures of the retaining wall. Cause as the work is proceeding, that's all I'm documenting. I have no reason to come up and speak. If you wanna come out and speak to me, that's fine. But I'm just gonna take pictures from the road and then head on my way. No one else from the town should be coming onto your property for any reason, other than we already spoke to you and we scheduled a visit. So anyone coming onto your property is not a town official.
There is, up in the hill, you know the property, the fence is still on the on his property line. So do I need to get a permit to move the fence back on my line? Or can I do it anytime? Just because he's,
Give me a call tomorrow. Give me a call tomorrow. You can do that, and we'll talk. Okay? Great. Marvin, thank you.
Right.
All right, for new business, we're taking an application, number 22-428-Z, Thomas Kopchik, applicant, applying for a variance to the zoning regulation under section 4.2B relating to minimum square footage or a proposed new lot at 104 Nelson Road, 43-19-3, zoned in R60. I believe we all have that application.
We all have the application. There are plans associated with the application. If you would like to review, there are 3 copies, right here. But you will just be accepting the application.
Yeah, is that for
What plans are pertinent to your application?
The plans are pertinent to the application. They already need to know, wetlands went through their approval of the site already, and they are tied up as far as wetlands is considered. So now it is in the ZBA's hands to progress it forward or not.
All right.
I'll make a motion to accept.
We don't have to. I don't believe we have to, because I mean, they're submitting.
Yes,
the
you
application. You still have to take a
Because you
motion.
don't have to accept an application.
Oh, really?
Sure.
Wow, okay. All right. I motion to accept the application.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Let the record show everybody's in favor. Other business, correspondence. Any correspondence that we have? That was one thing we didn't ask,
Oh, she gone.
Yeah, there was a letter. See, I wasn't in the department today, so.
A letter from who? For what? 104 Nelson?
No, from Public Works, I think, about a bridge.
Yeah,
It's upstairs.
Well, that was sent via.
that was an email we got.
Yeah, that was an email.
Was that the one-way bridge they're talking about?
It's gonna be,
We can.
The one that's gonna get done in like 2027 or something like that?
yeah.
Thank you for reminding us, Captain. Appreciate that. We'll make sure that
Might have
it
to go
is
on the record next time.
on the correspondence for the following meeting, because there's a lot of procedural stuff we still need to iron out as far as these packets go, because today was not smooth.
All right, so last month's minutes for November 1st, 2022, the regular meetings minutes, or anybody have any objections to submitting them?
Nope.
Nope,
Everybody in favor?
in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
For the record.
It's not a bad idea to get.
Accept the meeting.
Yes, I do need a motion, so.
Accept, I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes.
Oh, yeah,
for-
second.
And
Aye.
Gary's got it tight. I swear he makes a motion and they second and they do an all in favor on just about everything.
Really?
I
You really
swear.
don't need to.
favor of it.
I made the motion, John seconded.
We're good.
Yeah, and that way Catherine during the minutes doesn't have to fill in the blanks.
Being recorded, Jordan.
All right. Hey,
Good old Robert's rules.
do we have any bills?
Do you have to leave it open to audit, though? Anything? None? Because when we do this at the VFW, they always leave everything open to audit and subject to audit. Everybody votes aye,
I never heard that.
but it's subject to audit. So in other words, somebody can come back and look at it
Not that I've seen in
and
the
send
other
everybody to
divisions.
jail or whatever.
I've not once seen subject to audit or anything like
Okay,
that.
I just asking.
All in favor?
Something that you would say be subject to someone reviewing the tape and.
Yeah, reviewing the tape or reviewing finances or whatever.
Yeah,
So
I guess if
Always come back to audit, whatever.
that's the case, then we probably should move to motion. If there's anything questionable that we need more information on, it should always be brought up that we need more, that information, and then
Well, I thought it was maybe Roberts, because we do it for a number of things. It's the way, I don't, all right.
no, it's a fine point, and we'll definitely look into it. So what was it?
Either open subject for review or open to audit. It means
Well,
everybody,
subject to review would be when you get this, you should be reviewing it between last meeting and this meeting.
well,
Why don't we push forward and complete the meeting, then we get to.
Yeah, have this conversation.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be on record for this. All right, so is there any new bills that we have? Catherine?
No.
No? All right. Motion to, on the bills? Quotes on the bills? All in
There are-
favor?
uh,
Aye?
Aye.
We didn't have any.
We-
Good. Let the record show that we're all in favor to close down
That
the
there's
bills.
no bills.
Any other business that may be properly come before the board besides the application that we did take and we motion to accept?
I would
Let the
say,
record show there's
wait,
no-
I would say, Jordan, if you want to explain to us what you want to do going forward, you know, for
Well, not the application.
new
you can't,
business,
right?
new business and,
As far as 104 Nelson?
well, no, you were trying to explain how we're gonna proceed going forward, right? That would be new,
Well, that I don't think we'd be doing
that
on
would
the
be
record.
new business, no?
Fair, yeah, fair enough. So essentially, yeah, just kind of procedural stuff. I think I understand what Carl's saying. This kind of has to do with the packets that you all received today. There's a lot that I need to work out with Sonia, the new administrative assistant upstairs, as to what needs to be provided in the packets and how much information you as the commissioners need altogether. We'll get back with John later.
Okay.
But,
So I could just put this all back, I'll just take this one.
Hey, John. We're discussing that very same thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
so essentially, you'll get a packet. If there's anything you want to take and review at home, like, that's perfectly fine. Just try and bring it to the following meeting, so it can end up back in your packet. Anything you want to leave here, because there's going to be, you know, a litany of reports or applications that, you know, you can peruse while you're here and get the gist of, and it's not something you need to take home as supplement. Throw it back in your binder, and these things will be added to as we go, and what remains will remain. And if at any point you're taking something away and you want it replenished, that's perfectly fine. And this is just the process for right now, because I don't think it's the best one moving forward.
We'll figure it out.
But this is why I want, like, the planning commission, almost everyone shows up with iPads and laptops, save for, I believe, 1 or 2 commissioners that still get a paper packet. If that's something that's permissible to the commissioners moving forward, we can definitely work on that. And then you would just get an email that you could throw into a folder and then have all of the items, agenda, minutes, anything from all the past meetings, the current meetings, and then it'll be at your fingertips. We can throw things up on the projector, but just moving away from thick paper copies, because for things like the zoning commission and the inland wetlands that have 5 applications come in, and they're books that we print for 10 commissioners.
Now, are you gonna be able to scan large enough for maps to put it back, put online for us to have?
Honestly, with the large format maps, one, I think we should be doing a better job when it's pertinent of providing enough that we can hand out to like 2 commissioners to review. But as far as scanning them to be electronic, I don't know if the town assessor has that ability, but if they do, then that should be readily available as well. They're just so hard to read on
but-
small.
The thing is it possible to request the applicant to submit a digital copy so that all you gotta do in turn, so like on the application, is it possible for you to put on there as a line item as a requirement?
I'm
Because
sure
when
it's
somebody goes for
possible.
a surveyor,
When it becomes the large plan copies, and take it from me, I have a big television screen for desktop, and it's still hard to get a sense of what's going on like some of the large scale plans. I gotta zoom into this corner and this corner and work it out that way. This paper is still the best way of understanding when it comes to this stuff, that just with the large scale plans. But I think we just need to get better, because I don't think, if you looked at the large scale plans for 104 Nelson right now, you'd have a sense of what they're trying to do. Like, there's a lot, there's what he's trying to get approved in his application, and then you move on. I don't necessarily think that's something you need to come back to, reference constantly.
yeah, but if you're only gonna have 2 plans for 6 board members at a meeting,
That's kind of what I
gonna
was
be a little
saying.
difficult.
We did, like, we have 3 today, which frankly, I think 1 for every 2 commissioners to hand out. I could hand 2 to Kathy and David, and they could review it while we're having the discussion with the applicant. This happens all the time in the zoning
Yeah, but
commission.
the applicant's the one submitting the maps.
Yes, but we can make copies here.
Well, I understand that, but so, I mean, usually with the zoning and everything else, they're submitting a bunch of maps.
They submit a
anyways.
bunch of maps,
Right,
exactly.
So,
That
so
should
you
be the
have
sa-
only
that should be
3
the
if-
same case with us. And that's kind of procedurally what the problem is, because I had so few maps come in recently that when I went on a site visit, I didn't have a map, because I couldn't find one in the entire department.
Yeah, but I thought it's stipulated on the applicant how many maps they have to submit to the,
Yes, but they just disappear sometimes.
Ah.
And that's unfortunate, because I think there's,
Jordan, I'd like to make a comment on your iPads. Be happy for the town to supply iPads,
I've actually had that conversation,
only because.
if I'm being completely
It's
honest.
a public record and it can be subpoenaed, so if it's.
I don't want it on my laptop, so. Yeah.
No, that's completely fair, yeah, that was the purpose for me requesting an iPad in the first place, because I had all my photos on my phone. And I didn't want to lose my phone when the time comes that I'm gonna end up in court,
We
because
don't wanna
it's,
see your photos either.
I'm sure
So
you
an
know.
Well, I don't know.
iPad would replace this. iPad would replace this then.
iPad would effectively replace everything. But I've had this conversation with one of the individuals in the IT department as to what it would look like getting
So then
enough
it would be
iPads for commissioners.
Deal then for everybody to get an email address through the town, because again, if you have your desktop. Right, well, the thing
Is that a
if-
difficulty right now? For commissioners getting a town email?
Your email
Yeah.
is
That-
subject to some.
Is that
Oh,
something
yeah.
you've tried to do?
Well, no, but it would say, example, I use my desktop, and I have all this documentation in my computer at home.
Yep.
That's town information on there. That now gives them the entitlement to take my desktop if they need to, because it's part of town information.
If it's saved on your desktop, yeah, but if it's saved on your email, they can just get access to your email. They don't have to sequester your
Oh,
desktop.
I don't know where that would stop. I can't answer that, but I'm just saying is that
Yeah.
if we're looking to
Under the
stop
fr-
it and halt it.
Under the freedom of information, like, it would have to be held in a device, and seeing as how email is kind of a broad spectrum device, you could just supply the information being requested, and it wouldn't need to be sequestered.
But it can also be deleted.
I didn't hear that.
I'm just saying, I mean, so.
That is true, it can.
Yeah, I don't know.
If we're gonna be worrying about where this ends, I think it should be, if you're doing that.
No, I think
each-
this is a fair point,
Right.
because we're trying to figure out how this is gonna move forward for everyone as easily as possible, and frankly, ZBA doesn't get a whole lot of applications.
So it should be
If
pretty
this
simple.
isn't what you guys wanna move forward with, or becomes too difficult, then paper packets it is, and we just have to get back on board to what it was.
Carl,
Paul.
can they, if I receive an email on this is compromised, can't they
Yeah.
can take my phone?
Especially if you save the document to it.
Well, it doesn't matter, you know, you'd have to, your word against theirs, so they would just take your device then, or your computer.
From what I understand, you just have to supply the information. Like, if you have, like, an email can be read on any device, And to like figure out you read it on your phone rather than your desktop or your iPad would, like, someone would have to watch you reading it and then also read it.
Gotcha.
So this is kind of like a difficult thing to exactly pin down.
It's probably a stretch to go that far, but in a lawsuit, anything can be.
Right, and to be aware of those things moving forward as we're all trying to figure this out isn't a bad idea at all.
I'm just used to the military side of it, everything's gone. Doesn't matter if it's an email or anything
Yeah.
else, you lose it. So,
Makes sense.
So, I think,
Motion to close the meeting?
motion to close this discussion and then.
I second it.
I thought we were closing.
All in favor?
Aye, aye.
All in favor to close the meeting?
Now we make a motion to close the meeting?
Or, wait, no, I thought we just did.
No, that was, that,
As far as other business, I don't think you need to make a motion for every other business.
No?
No. No, we can just make a motion.
I don't think we need it for bills too, do you?
That was a good one,
Motion
though.
and the motions?